Okay.
And I'm going to be having an intern shadowing today named Devontae Arnold. Will that be okay with the two of you?
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Are you both in the same location right now?
Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah, then I would need each of you to complete that, the check-in then for me if you're in different locations.
I don't see.
So if you go down to where the bottom of your screen, actually, Jim, Crystal, can you see yours?
Yeah, I saw mine. I'm filling mine out.
Okay, I'll do it with you, Jim. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, let me pull it up here real quick. Okay. So it's Jim Wells is your full name, correct? And you're seeing me today, Tina Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have your current address on file?
Should.
Okay. And then, do we have your current emergency information updated?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, we have your current insurance on file?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay. And then you are located at your home address that's on file with us today, right now, for this session?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go ahead and enter this. Oops, it's 6 o'clock, not 5. Okay, thank you so much for that. Devontae, you can turn your camera on and introduce yourself. You don't have to stay silent in the background. They both know that you're here, so you're welcome to join in. So thank you, both of you, for coming to the intake. I noticed that you both have been doing some individual, hey Devontae, both have been doing some individual work for quite a while actually, and so it's good to see that you're coming together as a couple. I did review all of the biopsych information that you completed recently, and Jim, thank you so much for completing your initial intake form. You were one of the people in the old system, so it didn't have all the blanks filled out, so thank you for doing that.
No problem.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions for both of you, and then we'll talk about your needs moving forward, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So you're not currently living in the same household, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, Crystal, you moved out, right?
Right.
Okay, and how long ago was that?
That was technically March 2nd. So
Okay.
not even a month ago.
Okay, all right. And then, so from your perspective, and I'll go to each one of you, what do you think is the primary issue that needs to be worked on in therapy? I'll start with you, Crystal.
Well, I think that the foundation that we built our relationship on was toxic in a way that made it so I wasn't able to grow within myself, and he had expectations of me being a specific person that I wasn't, because I was so busy trying to fit a mold that I thought he needed me to be. So I almost felt like I kind of went into it under false pretenses with a different understanding of what my role was supposed to be for him and in the marriage, and I didn't know any better. And now that I know better, every time I try to correct it, we keep falling back onto old foundation, old toxic things. And so it's like I'd like to just start from the ground up and go back to dating, go back to getting to know each other, go back to learning to listen, and just seeing if there's red flags, letting him know, hey, that's a red flag for me. You know, all that healthy stuff you're supposed to do that I should have done in the beginning, but rather I just took notes and said, okay, yeah, this is who he wants me to be. Okay, this is who he needs me to be. Okay. You know, so I didn't really vocalize too much of what I thought or felt because I didn't know any better. That's my perspective anyway.
So it sounds like you're interested in rebuilding the foundation from the ground up in a more healthy way.
Right.
And it's understandable that you would find yourself both going back into the same patterns. What we bring to relationships as adults is greatly influenced by our experiences with attachment with parents and caregivers. And you yourself had a pretty rough time in that stage with both parents. And so, you know, your brain develops a pattern inside of it, and that's all you know, right? And even when we find out that we need to do something different, it's still really difficult for us to change that pattern.
Right.
And in fact, when there's a lot of stress going on, your brain will automatically revert back to the old patterns that you've brought with you all along. So you're talking about something that can be very challenging, but it is possible. So
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, what about you? What's the primary issue from your perspective?
Sorry, I lost my complete train of thought when
That's okay.
the dog and the kid came in. I would agree with most of what she said. Except for I don't completely agree with what she said about expectations of things. Because it was things that we talked about, and she decided to allow those to happen. She didn't put the red flag up. Hey, wait a minute, no, we're not doing that. She agreed with stuff that was said for both of us.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. And so, Jim, it sounds like you're interested in also building the foundation from the ground floor, kind of starting over from the beginning and rebuilding based on healthy perspectives and expectations.
True, but I don't feel like I have an option. So.
Okay. So you feel like it's kind of got to be that way or nothing.
Exactly.
Okay. Understandable. And so, Jim, from your perspective, what is success going to look like for you in therapy then? What kinds of things are you going to notice about the relationship to determine for you that, hey, this is going in the right direction?
Honesty.
Okay.
Which is something that was never put out there.
Okay.
I knew that there was her false pretenses that she was putting up. I could see through it, and I would constantly, try to challenge her on that, and would get basically the same outcome, or it would become a volatile between the two of us.
Okay. So success in counseling for you is going to start to look like her being transparent with communication and choices and letting you know if something's not comfortable for her. Like for you in therapy.
Sorry, my computer went mute for a second, so I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Oh, no worries. So what does success look like in therapy for you as a couple?
Basically, I don't really know exactly what it looks like, but I know what it would feel like.
Okay.
And it would feel like, it wouldn't feel like tension, it wouldn't feel like anxiety, it wouldn't feel like hostility or anger or passive aggressiveness. It would feel like, I feel so comfortable I can be myself around you, or I could say anything to you and not be afraid. I can be really comfortable to do me and you do you, and there's no negotiations or tit for tat, like, okay, I'll agree to do this because that's what you want of me, and you agree to this because that's what you want of me. And I think that's where we kind of got off on the wrong foot, was we didn't know any better. And now that I do feel like I'm learning better, it needs to feel good. Right now it doesn't feel good, and I want it to really badly because I love him and I miss him and I want to be with him, but it's got to be all of it, not just parts of it, you know?
Sure. Well, what I really like that I'm hearing is both of you are looking at success as very similar in what it looks like and what it feels like. It sounds like you're both interested in being able to communicate very openly with each other without conflict, being able to be accepted even though you may not agree with the other person, what they're saying. But it definitely sounds like transparency from both sides would be an indication that you're moving forward in the relationship the way you want it to be. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I almost feel that it's crumbled pretty badly to the point where if we use these sessions to tippy-toe into it gradually, rather than, thinking we can just pick up where we left off 2 months ago or something, before it came crashing down. So if I have, difficult subjects I want to talk about, I think that would be a great opportunity to use the sessions as that, so that we can, if I can feel comfortable talking about it in session, then I can feel comfortable talking about it without the third party,
Yeah, absolutely. Then that's exactly what one of the focus of couples is, teaching us how to communicate and have those difficult conversations, and first doing it when we have that third party there to kind of moderate for us, and then us taking those skills outside of therapy and being able to apply them. So, Okay. I like what you said, Crystal, that, you still love and want to be with Jim. So how did you meet?
We met on the internet.
Oh, cool. How long ago?
It was 2005, so almost 16 years ago.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
Almost 15 years.
Wow. Okay. And Jim, there's some older children, adult children. Are those yours?
Yeah.
From a previous relationship?
Yes.
Okay. And do they all live with you, or are they all off on their own?
The older two are out on their own. Well, my second oldest lives with my parents.
Okay. And then the younger ones, are those your children together?
Yes.
And there's 2 or 3?
2.
2. Okay. 13 and
12.
12. Okay. Wow. Very close together in age. Both boys?
No, I got
No, with the girl.
boy and girl. Yeah.
Boy and girl? Okay. All right.
2 boys to start with, then finally a girl.
Good. Okay. So, what is parenting, Jim? In terms of any of the stress in your relationship, how does the parenting come into play? Do you agree on parenting, or do you think that that's also an area that you might want to work on together?
That's a tough one. And the reason why it's tough for me is because, within myself, things have changed and become enlightened for myself. And I don't know that the way I was doing it before was the right way. I don't think it was necessarily a complete, total wrong way.
Sure.
But, I talked to my oldest a while back, and, he made things real with me.
Okay.
And realized that, I could have done a lot better. So I personally reached out to my kids asking them, if there was one thing I could change to make me a better father for you guys, let me know.
Well, good for you. That's brave right there. Yeah.
I really don't have a way that I want to or could say that we have off or on,
Okay.
because I'm kind of learning a whole new for myself.
Okay. Well, that's absolutely something that you could build into the foundation of your relationship. And it sounds like for you that that's actually being built from the ground up as well. So all good things, all good progress, it sounds like, in terms of your own insight and awareness. And the other thing that we bring into relationships is our parenting style. And that comes from also our attachment style. And so, Crystal, do you have a solid idea of whether you're on the same page with parenting in the past?
I know that I struggled with watching him parent the way he did.
Okay.
And I would try to speak up as often as possible when it mattered to me. But if I didn't feel like getting into an argument or something, then I shrugged my shoulders and just tried to roll with it, and also tried to support him even if I didn't believe in how he was doing it. So when he told me that he wanted to do things differently a while back, it really elated me because it was an insight that he'd never had before, and it made me go, oh, thank goodness, because I don't think we're doing it exactly correctly with our son who's on the autism spectrum, who needs certain accommodations, but he also needs to be challenged enough so that he's not expecting the world to accommodate for him all his life also. So it's this fine balance on how you represent, how you can communicate to him and also set him up for success. So I'm learning it myself, but to be in what I felt like was a hostile environment, when, dad would get upset, then everybody's upset, and then, meltdowns are easy from our son. And so it's like I was trying to micromanage it all, and it was like, okay, it was really, really exciting to hear me say that he was talking to his sons and he was trying to get information to learn better. So yeah, that was hopeful.
Okay, good. I'm so glad to hear that. I can feel the stress coming from you when you're talking about in the past what would happen. And so I'm so glad that you both are agreeing to work on this together, because I mean, you're obviously very caring about each other, but I do see that level of stress that would come up for you in that. So I would like to recommend and include parenting as part of your treatment goals and objectives in couples counseling. Would you be agreeable to that as well?
That's fine.
Okay. And I think sometimes parents overlook the fact that it can be helpful to have a third party help them build their parenting strategies as well. And it is important to have a strategy in place so that it's not stressful when things start to slip down. You know exactly what you're going to do, and each other, you know exactly what to expect.
I don't feel that it was in a dire situation, because there was a lot of things that we worked really well on, as far as we worked like a team when it came to homework and getting the kids fed and what we were going to, teach them as far as expectations of blah, 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 grades and all that stuff. So there really wasn't this disconnect as much, except for moments of high stress and whatever. But the part that seems to be crumbling the most, which I would think is probably what Jim would agree that our marriage is in state of crisis. And so I don't know, whatever that goal looks like, that's where it's like, okay, yeah, parenting things would be nice. I'm not saying not to. It's just not our main issue that's coming between us. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely understandable, and thank you for clarifying that for me. I do agree that it sounds like it's the relationship between the two of you that needs to be the primary focus moving forward, and then as that falls into place, you may notice that other things really don't need to be fixed quite as much, because the two of you are better together. So Thank you. Thank you for giving me that insight. Absolutely.
Sure.
So Crystal, I was looking through your biopsych, and it sounds like mom wasn't in the picture, and then at 17 was in the picture again, and then some alcohol and things like that as an adult. Who do you go to for support when you need it? It sounds like you were also expected to be the peacemaker when you were with Dad, which sounds kind of familiar to the role that you just described as well. But who do you go to for support aside from Jim?
For a long time, I didn't have anybody, so I relied heavily on therapy, or if I did try to reach out to a friend, I seemed to exhaust their efforts pretty quickly, to the point where I didn't really trust to open up to a lot of people. And I've, opened up to his mom. I've tried to confide in my mother-in-law, and I've tried to confide in my own mom. But it just seems like I can't seem to... I don't know if it's a fear creates me to not be as open because I'm afraid of them not showing up for me, or if they literally stop showing up for me and then I have to deal with that. So it's like, we've had 7 marriage counselors prior to you in the last 15 years, and they've all pretty much agreed that I have attachment issues a lot surrounding my mother and father, and my father not being in the picture anymore because he passed away. So I transposed all of my wanting to please father things onto my husband. And so if I could confide in him and get my support from him, then things were working really well. But if I couldn't, then my whole world was falling apart, and I didn't feel like I had anybody, because my dad was my only stable person, and now my husband's my only stable person. So it's like, okay, now then you've got then you've got the Lifeline, who I've been with for a while, but every therapist that they set me up with, they kept switching me to a new therapist right when I started to get really close. So my support system hasn't been really reliable, but Jim has been my biggest support person, even when he's not all that supportive.
Okay. So I mean, one of the outcomes of couples therapy for you hopefully will be that you can be each other's first go-to when you're having distress. Is that something that you're hoping to see happen?
I'm working on in therapy to learn more independence and not so much dependence to Jim, because it's it's probably a little enmeshed and entangled to the toxicity point. So I would like a better boundary with that. And I also feel that I need to stop isolating myself from friends and family who want to be supportive. But I'm just scared to open up and be let down,
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for that information. So Jim, sounds like, from your perspective, things were good growing up with mom and dad. Doesn't look like you had a whole lot of issues with attachment, at least not identified in any of your information that I was able to see. So who do you consider to be your biggest support at this time? Who do you go to for help?
I'm trying to get that better. I did not go to my parents here recently because for a year now she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Stage 4 bone cancer. So I didn't want to put that on her. She has enough to deal with herself. So I didn't have a support system. And for a good portion, I thought I was okay.
Sure, of course.
then it's been just a little over a month that I learned something, and I'm getting tested with it and stuff like that. But I fall in the whole autism, Asperger's thing, and that's knocked a whole bunch of light into struggles and problems that I've had as a kid and even as an adult. So I really don't have a support system. I'm more trying to get that. I'm not an outgoing person. But my parents know about it now, so I mean, they are my biggest supporter right now.
Okay.
That and my oldest son.
Okay. And he's 29?
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Okay. All right.
He had a birthday 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. A March baby. Okay. And then do you, what do you think are the strengths of the relationship? And I'll start with Jim this time. What do you see as being the strengths?
It's hard for me to come up with strengths right now.
Okay.
Because some of the things that was a strength within us is no longer true.
Okay. When things were good, what would you say some of the strengths were in the relationship?
No matter how bad or if things went, typically at the end of the day or by the next day, we could come back together.
Okay. So forgiveness and working through something was there at that when things were good.
I couldn't say forgiveness would be in that, because that's, I feel, where the whole thing's bound on right now is the fact that neither one of us forgive each other for anything.
Okay. But you would come together and continue to function as a couple even after rough patches.
I would have said the biggest thing was the true passion that we had for our kids, not to have them go through this.
Okay. So you see that as one of the strengths, is that you didn't want this for your kids. You wanted them to see mom and dad together and happy.
Exactly, because she went through this as a child herself, so she knows how that feels.
Yeah.
And then it went through my first 2 older boys on that, so.
Okay. Krista, what do you think are the strengths of the relationship?
I feel that if I say the strengths, I might have to say some things that are more honest and hard to hear.
Well, let me just remind you that this isn't a therapy session.
Okay.
So if you could just let me know as much as possible what you think the strengths are. And be sure these are the things that you would the other things are obviously the things that would be important for you to bring up. So let's just say in the past, what have the strengths been in the relationship?
I guess the way I want to say it is, he seemed to have grown up with the tendency where everything wasn't really talked about. It was kind of swept under the rug. So me and him had this way of laying it out and having the talks and the hard talks and the 3 a.m. fights, whether we were just trying to relate to each other, trying to get the other person to understand each other's point. We didn't let it go. We didn't pretend like it wasn't a problem. And so that's what I really liked, was being able to talk about things and not just put blinders on or just silent treatment each other. You know, that would bother me when I'd watch his family do that. So it's like, okay, I'm glad that we're talking about it at least, but then it ended up not being.
It was a little too far than just talking and it's not productive.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like I really did like that we could talk about things. We've been great talkers since our first phone conversation when we first met on the internet, and we could still be good talkers. It's not about that, and I think that's why communication has always been there. But I think there's something more to it than that's causing an issue, and that's what a lot of other therapists didn't seem to understand. They think we're just trying to learn better communication. It's like, no, we can communicate pretty well. We probably communicate poorly, but we communicate like a lot.
Yeah. So what would each of you think if I said that, based on what I see so far, there's a very good chance that it's not necessarily about the two of you as you are right now so much as it is all that painful past learning that we drag with us from day one when we first start to experience it, and then it's the attachment stuff, and then we bring it into our relationships. And so I tend to agree with you on that maybe it's not just about improved communication so much as it is being able to recognize in the other person the deficits and the strengths, and recognize them and be able to work on them together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also respecting boundaries and stuff like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it's tough when you haven't had boundaries modeled for you in a healthy way, growing up. We don't just magically figure that out when we're adults and we're in relationships. Unfortunately, we have to learn that as well. It's a skill.
Right.
So, okay. All right. And then you've tried counseling in the past before. Is there anything else that you've been able to find helpful for you?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I know that we've had some books and stuff that we've read. Like he's shared some things with me, and I've shared some things with him, articles or things like that. But
okay. All right. And then I think those are all my follow-up questions that I have. So one more. When did you first ago would you say all the cracking and things started to happen?
Maybe 3 to 6 months before we got married.
Okay. That's important. Okay. And Jen, what about you? What's your take on that?
I would probably say the third day.
The third day of knowing her? Wow. Okay. Well, thank you both for all this information. I won't be your therapist moving forward, but I do have you set up with a staff therapist, so you won't have to change from intern to intern. So I do have you set up with a staff therapist that has experience in marriage and family therapy.
Who is that with?
It's Juliana Kellner.
Okay.
And she's out of the Chandler office. As long as you're both comfortable with telehealth, I can keep the schedule with her. If you feel like you need to be with somebody over from the Glendale office, I can certainly look at their schedules and see what they have available.
No, I think we're fine with the telehealth as long as it's after work.
Yeah, so that's the other question I had for you. I have Thursdays at 7 o'clock. I tried to look at your individual therapy schedules and try not to, go into those times. And so do Thursdays at 7 work for both of you?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, awesome. The other thing that, the other challenge is that right now we only have bi-weekly sessions, so it wouldn't be every week at first. However, Juliana will, I can look at their schedules and see what they have scheduled, but it doesn't tell me what they might be doing in terms of discharging. So when you meet with her, you could talk to her about when she thought it would be possible for you to move into weekly sessions with her. But for right now, we would be doing bi-weekly, and she doesn't have an opening until April 15th. So it will be a couple weeks, well, not really, because I guess a couple weeks, because April 1st is coming up tomorrow. So, okay. Any questions so far?
No. I don't have it.
No.
Okay. I do need to send something called the interim treatment plan through the patient portal. Crystal, are you able to get into your portal, because all this information is under your chart?
Yeah.
Can I send that to you now? Okay, let me go ahead and send it to you now, and I'll need your signature on it before we're finished up here.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that now. It will probably go to both of you. So you both do not need to sign this particular document, just one of you.
Okay, so I'm looking in the portal and I don't see it yet, right?
I just sent it right now.
Okay.
So give it just a minute to populate.
So I'm signing, is that it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. The interim treatment plan. Now this is what it sounds like. It's interim. It's not a complete comprehensive treatment plan. In the first 2 sessions that you have with Juliana, she will review goals and objectives that have been identified by myself and by speaking with the 2 of you. It's a very collaborative process, so both of you will get to weigh in whether or not treatment goals and objectives align with your idea of successful therapy. It won't be us telling you what we think should happen. It will be totally collaborative so that it works for both of you, and so that you're focusing on what you think is the primary issue.
Okay.
And so that will be done in between now and the first time that you meet with Juliana.
And it will be a different Zoom code?
Yep, I can give you that if you want it.
Okay.
In fact, I can also send it to you in the patient portal. How's that?
There you go.
That way you'll both have it. Okay. So all of our sessions are 53 minutes long. We do ask that you give us at least 24-hour notice if you're unable to make it. I am the site supervisor for the Chandler office. That is where Juliana works out of. And as you both have found out through many, many experiences with counselors, it's important that you have a good fit with somebody.
Right.
And so even though just based on what I saw in your paperwork, you feel like Juliana will be a good fit for you, if that is not the case, please reach out to me and let me know, and we will move to someone else until we find a good fit for couples therapy, because it's critical.
So do we send you a message in the portal and tell you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And you'll have my direct contact information. Advocate for yourselves. That's absolutely important. And continue to be active in your individual work, because that will also be critical to the success of your couples sessions as well. So.
Okay.
Devante, do you have any questions about anything maybe that I didn't cover that you'd like to ask?
No, I
Okay.
did everything.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, good luck to both of you. Thank you so much for trusting us, and I will send you a portal message with the Zoom code.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you hear what he said? Of course he's going to say that. He's so blind. He's so blind to my my problems. I want to go over there. I want to go over there and talk to him. That's my truth right now. And I'm freaking out, crying, because I know I shouldn't be doing that. I'm pissed off because our intake was supposed to be on Monday and she was supposed to be our person Wednesday. But no, she does the intake and now we're going to set up with somebody new, but not until the 15th of fucking April? Fuck that. God, Lifeline, why are you so fucking behind the ball? So fucking pissed right now. Yeah, I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him and bitch him out right now. Not bitch him out, but just bitch with him about Lifeline. Bye.